Hello, today we're going to talk about Vineyard Budgets. A budget is essentially a plan with performance estimates for equipment, personnel, and grape production. They can be very long and they can be very short, but the most important thing is that the budget takes into account the factors that impact our production. These factors are wages, grape sales prices, the value of the wine, the quantity of the grapes and wine expected to be produced. With all this information, we can very clearly communicate the total amount of money needed to manage a vineyard, as well as estimate how much fruit the producer is going to grow and how much fruit production is going to cost. Every year, our job as producers is to find a way to adapt to the different obstacles that we face in the most sustainable way for the vineyards, the employees, and the industry. There are many stakeholders who need the information within a budget. It is important to know what role each person involved has and what part of the budget is relevant for them. Grape growers need to know how much fruit will be produced and at what price. They also have to adjust production and costs according to demand. Winemakers need to know how much fruit they have and at what price. If the vineyards they own will not meet the necessary wine volume needed, then they will have to consider buying grapes. On the other hand, if production forecasts are in excess, then a winemaker should consider selling grapes, especially if the market is willing to pay a good price. The sales department needs to know the supply of wine today and in the future, as well as the present and future demand. They also need to be aware of what price the wine can sell for. The finance department is responsible for monitoring expenses and revenue. They ensure that the business is sustainable and that the income stream can cover expenses. They use the budget as a reference point to know when it will be necessary to reduce expenses or request credit from the bank. As we said, the budget, whether very detailed or not very detailed, must be a plan that considers the quantities and costs of all the factors of production. The last thing we want to happen is to face unanticipated expenses. This budget should contain at least the following expenses: labor, public services, repair and maintenance, supplies, rentals, consulting, insurance and taxes, and permits and licenses from government agencies. If we wanted to be more detailed, we could subdivide these expenses into their most important components. Input costs, for example, can be divided into pesticides, fertilizers, fuel, etc. Generally speaking, this level of detail is decided by managers based on the budget components they want to individualize. How can we use the budget? As we said, the budget is a benchmark to measure vineyard management performance. The most common way to measure this is to look at the cost per acre and the cost per ton. Both costs are important. It is possible to have a low cost per acre but a high cost per ton. This would indicate that the vineyard is not yielding the tonnage it should. As a reference to compare, the average cost of the area in which we work can be used. In the case of cost per acre, the University of California at Davis has done a very interesting and detailed work that covers a wide range of zones and scenarios: organic, conventional systems, different levels of mechanization, etc. For cost per ton, the USDA's crush report states the average prices paid per ton in various California grape-producing districts. Another useful tool is the historical information of the vineyard that we manage. If we see a significant discrepancy in cost per acre or cost per ton, we should analyze and study to see if we can find the justification for that difference. For example, there may be a pest that raises production costs, a particular climatic condition that lowered yields that year, or an unexpected increase in the cost of labor. In conclusion, budgeting is a management analysis task that is important and involves all participants in the production and sales process within our industry.